Hey everyone, it's your logical libertarian here, and we are doing something different today. Today we are going to go over Trump's wall and some of the problems I have with it, and the estimation that conservatives put, the estimation that a lot of the anti-Trump people put, as well as I'll propose some ideas that I have for ways that we can um, maybe tackle the issue of illegal immigration and a few other related issues kind of all in one swoop, and maybe really address the real problems here. So the first thing I want to go over if you'll bear with me, is the actual wall length. Now, the proposal is actually that it's about 550 miles wide or long. Not the full 2,000 length of our Mexico border, but it's 550 miles. So it's about around to here, maybe here to here. It's not going to go the full length all the way down through Texas. It looks like most of it's going to be New Mexico and Arizona, with maybe a bit in California and a bit in Texas. That's what we're actually looking at here. So I want to make sure that that's cleared up. The next thing is the budgetary proposal that's been offered. Now, it's been usually somewhere between 2.5 to 3 billion, up to 5 billion every time they ask every year. And it usually gets shot down. We have had multiple government shutdowns due to it because of a disagreement on there, and that's led to some issues. And now that brings me to the next thing, which is going to be roughly how much would this cost. Now, again, we know that Trump's asking for about 2.6 billion, or 1 billion to start putting towards the wall. I understand that he's asking for that probably in little bits, maybe wanting to get a little bit done here, a little bit done there. We don't quite know the full story, and I will give Trump and his administration the benefit of the doubt that they will probably not want to try to get it all done in 1 year, but instead want to get it done in chunks. This is an estimator I did. Now, this is for small projects, like around the house, around a neighborhood. So this is probably going to be a bit higher. It may actually be cheaper. But it says a ballpark cost is $90 per cubic yard of concrete. And what that means, a cubic yard, that's 1 yard wide, 1 yard long, 1 yard tall. So that's going to be our basis for how we kind of figure this out. And that's how we figure out what we really need to do here. Now, obviously, there's a lot more that goes into building a wall. There's going to be labor. There's going to be more than just concrete. There will be different variations of steel and other metals. There will be electronics for all the different entry points, as well as any monitoring or surveillance that's needed. There's going to have to be paying all the workers, the contractors. There's so much that goes into it that is not being counted. But I just wanted to tackle one facet just to give you an idea of how much this will cost. And this is honestly, concrete's actually going to be one of the cheaper parts of this project, just the raw concrete. So taking all of that, I brought some calculations here, and I did it in long form. This is just a basic multiplication of multiple variables formula. It's very easy, simple formula. We're solving for x being the total cost. We have the price for P, which is $90 per yard cubed, which then means that P, the price, is going to be the height, length, and width. The length being 550 miles. I gave a pretty generous height and width. I assumed it would probably be about 9 to 10 feet wide. and more than likely about 6 yards high, maybe a little. It might be taller, but 6 yards. It's about 18 feet. It'll be 18 feet high by 9 feet wide, which is honestly a pretty fair size for the type of wall they're wanting to do. And then if they wanted to make it even bigger, well, however much you want to add to this, you multiply that into, you can plug that into this formula. And that being the thing, converting that to the miles to yards, which is about 1,700 yards per mile. It's 1,760 60 yards. So that's what we have there. Those are our numbers. We plug that in. As we can see, we get $1,568,160,000 just for concrete at that price. Now again, if there's a special government contract or they can get it cheaper, that's great. But also take into account that I'm probably giving a lot, being very conservative when it comes to the height and width. More than likely, it's going to be a lot wider, and it's probably going to be a lot taller. And again, there's going to be a lot more. There's going to be guardrails. There's going to be, metal stairs going up. Or if they wanted to do concrete stairs, there's going to be some areas where it's hollow, but some areas where instead that's full of much more expensive stuff, such as furnishings, electronics, fiber optic cables, surveillance, all sorts of different things, depending on how they want to do that. If they just plan to just build a wall and leave it, just like the Chinese did, which this is more of what we're doing, is just if we just wanted to build a Great Wall of America, this is what we'd be looking at. About $1.5 billion just for the concrete, not for all the people who make it, not for all the maintenance, not for the people who have to staff the wall as it is every single year. And that's the thing, this is just the wall on top. This isn't considering the fact that you're going to have to build this wall not just on top of the soil, but more than likely at least 50% of the height down. So at least 3 yards down, if not more. There's so much that's not taken into consideration here. And you need to realize that this is way more expensive than just a few $1 billion or $5 billion. It probably will be close to 20 to 40 billion just to build it, plus every year having devoted funds to maintaining it, because it will become a part of our infrastructure, and it will become a part of the infrastructure budget. And the thing, not only do you have to take into consideration everything I've already brought up, the cost for all the materials, the cost for all of the workers to build it, the cost for all the maintenance, the cost for all of the tech that's going to be needed, the cost for all the staffing, all the management, everything. You're also going to have to do all of the EPA stuff, so environmental impact reports, different infrastructure changes, if you have to go over a river, diverting the river, or making sure you don't mess with the river and the ecosystem there. If there's any roads you're going to be cutting off, you need to make sure you either create a checkpoint for them or you fix them. Any roads going to these locations, if you have to build any extra roads going to these different areas to fix it. Not only that, all of the stuff that you're going to need, the infrastructure just for the crews to build it, and then again the infrastructure that's needed for the people who will be staffing this. There's so much where I think what we could do instead is keep what we have, maybe build instead a fence that's cheaper and easier to build, bring troops home, and instead of having them in the Middle East fighting people they don't need to fight, dying, coming back with PTSD, they can instead be garrisoned at various locations and patrol our border. We pay them the same, we bring them home, we actually save money because we're no longer trading people out to be shipped out there. We're no longer having to ship out more and more and pay more and more for supplies going out to people overseas. They're going to be home, so that means that instead of having to fly across the damn globe just to come home for leave, all they have to do is take a plane, and if they're on the border, at the worst, they're going to be going from California to New York, That's the longest one they'll have. Or to Hawaii, maybe Texas to Hawaii. Those are the longest flights they'll have. Instead of having to go from the Middle East or Europe or Southeast Asia to the U.S. just to go on leave. I think this is a much better idea. And another proposal I have, annex Mexico. Take the money we'd want to be spending, and instead of investing it in a wall that's going to be useless and will be circumvented, that will decay over time, that will be a huge eyesore, and that may actually cause us problems later in the long run, and really won't deal with the problem. It won't deal with the fact that we have already millions of illegals here. Now we're just trapping them in. It won't deal with the fact that however many millions are smuggled in and find their ways in so many other ways, from going up to Canada and coming down, from coming in through sea. Are we going to build a wall around the Florida Keys and Louisiana? Are we going to build a wall on that side where they come from? The issue isn't just there. Obviously California, they come on the California coast. There's so many different ways, and we're just not addressing them. It's really upsetting that we have decided that it's more important for us just to build a wall instead of address this issue logically and in a thought-provoking way. There's other things that need to be addressed too. This path to citizenship needs to be adjusted. It is unfair that people have had to go through a lot of work already to get there and had to struggle, yes. But we should make it easier. I'm not saying make it to where any Tom, Dick, and Harry that crosses the border can just become a citizen within a day, but make the path to citizenship more simple. Make it to where at least anyone who's born in the U.S. and grew up here would be able to pass the citizenship test. And to be honest, if you can't and you were born and grew up here, maybe you should just be exported, sent to a different country. But those are the ideas. Those are the ways to address it. And again, going back to the annexing Mexico, we have a new state. Now Mexican citizens are U.S. citizens. All the tax revenue, we can go in and clean up a lot of the cartel problems using the military and American law enforcement resources, and maybe even change some of our laws to deal with that, because that would deal with another issue when it comes to organized crime. But those are my thoughts. I think that this is something that could be... I think that the wall is really dumb. I consider it a vanity project, no different than Obamacare by Obama, the Affordable Care Act. Both of them halted the budget and halted the federal government, put it on shutdown, which is pathetic. It's a severe sign of failed leadership, both on Congress and on the president. And I want to know your guys' thoughts. What do you think? I know a lot of people are like, oh, the walls, you need the wall, and if you don't want the wall, then you don't care about border security. And everyone else, who's, a lot of people who are against the wall think that, you're a racist if you're against illegal immigration. So let's try to look at this with nuance and actually consider handling these things. So thank you guys. Again, the opinion, likes, subscribe. I'll get you guys in the next topic. Take care.